Masterpiece Women, welcome. This is Tina Raines, and I'm your podcast host. And today I'm so excited to remind each of you about our retreat that's coming up October 24th through the 27th. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a time of just really diving deep with the Lord, and we're going to be focused completely on our climbs to freedom and truly being in a place of complete freedom, complete intimacy with the Lord, and give some practical tools, some practical, we're going to have some breakout sessions that will be work related for those of you who have businesses and you want to grow in that area as well. We're going to have some breakouts for that. So today, though, I'm super excited to introduce you to our podcast guest, Sheri Winesett. Sheri, thank you so much for being here today.
Tina, thanks for having me. And your conference sounds exciting. I'll have to look for more on that.
Yes, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about, let me introduce you properly with your background. She has amazing experience, but let me tell you how I met her. When I met her, Sheri works with multiple clients. She has quite a few clients, and Ray Higdon happens to be one of her clients, and connected us for Ray to speak at my conference. But then as I got to know Sheri, she actually may not even know this, Sheri, but you helped me so much through just a transitional pivoting season. As I shared with Sheri what was going on in my professional life, she just spoke some wisdom into my life that was just such a blessing. And so she has, she's a business strategist, she's a leadership coach, and I didn't even know that, but she's amazing. She has, she works with corporations, she's worked with individual companies, entrepreneurs. She also just wrote a book, and her book is Transparent Leadership for Women Who Mean Business. Ladies, that's a masterpiece woman, right? So I'm excited. It's on Amazon, Transparent Leadership. We're going to have all of the links down below, but just wanted to share because she is just one of those women who's constantly wanting to pour into other women. So Sheri, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about the book that's coming up, that just came out.
Oh, thanks, Tina. First, I have to say thank you, and you're amazing. And I love how you just shared that you were going through a season. You called it a season because we all go through so many seasons in life, and it's like, it's okay. It's just a season. We have to remember that, right? It's not forever. We're going to get through it. So thanks for having me. Yes, I just came out with this book that is so near and dear to my heart. It's called Transparent Leadership for Women Who Mean Business. And I wrote it because I really want to help the person I used to be. And, my career has taken many different paths. It's taken many different turns. And I just experienced a lot wearing a lot of hats like most women do, right? So you're like driven, and whether you have a career or you own your own business, you're leading a team, you're also a mom, a caretaker, a sibling, a friend, a grandmother. I mean, you name it. And so you have all these priorities in your life, and at times it seems really hard. And you start questioning yourself, like, what am I supposed to be doing, right? Is this just a season? Can I do it all? And you can. It's just a season. And so I wrote it just to say, hey, you can, but realize, there are seasons. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to help accelerate your leadership presence, because you're a leader in every area of your life. You're a leader amongst your children, your family, I mean, everywhere, at your church, you name it. And so it's really important that you get back up and you have confidence and you believe in yourself and you just keep going, because women have unique abilities, and we need them to lead, and we have a responsibility to lead, So.
Absolutely. So many women that come to Masterpiece Women, we would have our monthly luncheons and our conferences. A lot of them were not business women, and they're like, well, how am I a leader? I'm like, girl, you have the most important job of all. You're leading those children at home. You are a leader. You are an incredible leader. And one of the most important things we do, right, is lead our family.
Yeah, absolutely. And family first, right? I mean, faith, family, career, whatever we say, business. Um, but it's funny you mentioned that because we're role models everywhere in our life, and we have to remember that. And it's actually really empowering to create some awareness around that, right? Because wow, what an impact you can have. And we all feel most fulfilled when we're impacting other people, right? And so the
Absolutely.
dedication of my book, I was even thinking of my family, right? And my kids. I dedicated it to my kids because I have a daughter. And at times they may have mistaken my leadership for bossiness as their mom, but she's super
No,
confident.
never.
Oh, of course. But she's confident and she's smart and she's a leader. And I just want to empower her and give her a good example and say, just continue to do that, and it was also dedicated to my son because I know it's so important that your children you recognize how your children view you and your husband and your relationship or whatever it may be. You are such an impressionist on their life, and I just want him to see a strong woman in his life and to continue to respect and support other strong women in his life, right? When he grows up, he's in college now, but when he grows up and he gets married, I want him to empower his partner. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, I would love to hear a little bit about your journey. Like how it was funny before we got on, we were talking about our books and the time frame. Talk a little bit about your journey and how did God call you into the space you're in right now, but also to write the book. I'd love to just hear your story.
Oh man, I'm going to try not to have a long-winded answer, but it's so important for me to give credit where credit is due. And that is definitely glory to God, right? You don't know it, but he's got you and he has a plan, even when you're like, oh my gosh, what's the plan? Um,
Exactly.
so it's funny, Tina you and I have this in common, right? I wrote the outline for this book. It's has 7 keys in it to unlock your leadership potential. And I wrote the outline 9 years ago. And I had my speaker sheet and everything. Like, here was the outline. Sheri's working on her book. 9 years later, I hadn't published the book and or written it, expanded. And I just wasn't ready. A lot of people are like, why didn't you write it then? Why did it take you 9 years? And I hadn't experienced enough. And I hadn't really figured out who the book was for. So real quick, here's where I got really motivated and just said, okay, I'm ready. Like got the nudge. You're ready. I was introduced to Ray Higdon, who is, a powerhouse trainer in the network marketing space, but he's also an amazing mentor and coach. And Ray is just he's a pivotal point in this because I was introduced by a friend. And at the time, Ray needed a COO. And I was doing some fractional COO work at the time. So we got introduced, went to my first Faith Over Fear event and or Rank Makers, the last Rank Makers event. And then shortly after, Ray and I said, hey, I think there's some different things we can be doing together. So I transitioned into a role working with his executives and VIP clients, helping him with speaking engagements. And as we continued down the road, one of the things that was really huge for me is I kept hearing him say, help the person you used to be in his
Love
trainings.
that. That's one of my
And
favorite things he says because it's so true. When you look at everyone talks about the avatar, right?
yes,
Whether you're building business, you're writing a book, what have you, it really goes back to that. If you're looking at who's going to follow you, you're the expert in whatever you do, but all an expert means is you're one step ahead of someone else who's doing what you did. It,
yeah.
people make it too complicated sometimes.
Well, Absolutely. And I think too, if you help the person you used to be, it brings so much authenticity,
Absolutely.
and relatability, because you're able to share your story and say, I've walked in your shoes and now I want to help you get where you need to be quicker, help you overcome, or whatever it may be in your story. So that was one thing, right? I was like, okay, I've experienced enough now. I've had 10 more years of coaching clients, working with clients under my belt. And then the aha moment was, who do I want to help? I didn't just want to put out this generic leadership book. I wanted to really be focused on women. So that was huge. And then, another thing that was really pivotal for me in this was when I met Ray, I had had this relationship with the church forever, always believed in God. But when I met Ray and he started his walk in faith shortly after he and I met, we were like, oh my gosh, this is why we were connected. This is it. Like, who knew? And I really wanted a stronger relationship with God. My relationship, I believed in God, I prayed to God, but it had always been with the church, right? I was brought up in that strong church kind of, this is what you need to do environment. And so he was really key in helping me figure out what the next steps were to really develop that deeper relationship. And it's been life changing because now, it's now I'm listening and I'm getting guidance and as to, when I need to do this and who I need to help and that sort of thing. So
Love
that's
it.
kind of the journey on how I got here. So after Faith Over Fear last year, was that our second year of Faith Over Fear, Tina?
I think wasn't
Is it
no, wasn't
first?
last year your first year? This is your second year, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, you're right. So
Yeah.
after the first Faith Over Fear last year, I just said, hey, I'm going to do it. I sought out someone to help me, and here I am 7 months later.
I love it. Love it. So did you have a personal coach walk you through it? I have a couple of friends that are book writing coaches that help people. Is that what you did? You went to a coach that helped you navigate it?
I did. I'm a big believer, like to be a coach, a great coach, you have to be willing to get other outside perspectives and hire your own
Yeah.
coaches. So
Yeah.
I hired a publishing coach, and she really was able to walk me through the process and explain to me what needs to happen next, give me great feedback, and help me get it to market.
I love that. I have a friend, that's a friend of Masterpiece Women as well, that created an app. So she's written quite a few
Oh,
books
cool.
and did group books. As a matter of fact, we've been thinking and talking, and I'd love to hear, ladies, if you're listening to this, would it be of interest to you? Put it down in the comments below. What if we did a Masterpiece Women book and women could share their chapters of their lives, and I think it'd be hugely impactful. So we've talked about doing that, but she created an app that is a coach that walks you through with the app. Some people,
Oh,
would be more interested in a techie kind of thing. I personally have worked with a coach myself. Obviously I haven't been lately, so I need to give her a call back and go, Jackie, and get my book done. But there's so many resources. If God's put that in your heart, like he did myself and Sheri, ladies, and you're listening to this, reach out or go find yourself a coach that's what they do, and let them help you navigate through. Because as Sheri said, even coaches are coach. We see the value in going out and getting a coach that can help us navigate through the unknown, because again, we're just following in their footsteps. They've already done it. They're already have the success that we're looking for in that area. And our stories matter. God wants us to share our stories because they matter. They help other people really recognize their strength. They recognize, oh, you went through that, really?
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
hey, ladies, it's an encouragement. Sheri just encouraged you. Make sure you tell your story.
For sure. And Yeah, it's gonna feel good because that's where you can have the impact. I mean, the thing is that we all know a lot of things. We could write about a ton of things, right? But what really matters to you? What really grabs at your heart? What are you passionate about? That's what you write about. And Tina, I don't know your experience, but I think for some people that can be really hard because sometimes tragedy or bad experiences are what are going to help people most. Like, how did you overcome it? So, again, find someone that you can talk to. How do you get over that hump and give be comfortable being vulnerable, knowing that it's going to help so many people.
Oh my goodness, you're so right. So I always tell this story because I feel like it was like that aha moment where the Lord said authenticity and vulnerability is so valuable. So I had built, an 8-figure business myself, and I was known in my community, and I was in all these social settings and all these, I was on all kinds of boards. I was very philanthropic in my community, had been in magazines, blah, 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 all those things, right? That matter. And not that there's anything wrong with them. They're great things. But I said yes to climbing Mount Kilimanjaro for the first time. And when I did, it was totally
Oh,
outside my spectrum, right? And it's to help end human trafficking and raise awareness. So I have my first little fundraiser. I had 300 of my friends there. So this is my little fundraiser. We're going to raise our $10,000. And I decided to share my story of my poverty as a child and my sexual abuse as a child. I hadn't told my story to anybody. And I was, 30, what was I by then? I don't know, 40-ish. And yeah, right at 40 almost. So I told my story, and the people that were in the room, I can't tell you the transformation that transpired because they all had one picture of me as this successful business entrepreneur, must have had a gold spoon in my mouth, blah, 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 all those perceptions they had, because I allowed them to have that perception. And what was the most valuable thing that I could share and help people with was my story of brokenness, of my
yeah.
pain, and how I could relate only a little bit to someone who'd been trafficked, because I hadn't been trafficked, but I could relate to that anguish, And since that moment, everywhere I spoke, all over the world, same thing. Tina, I get it. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. How did you get over it? How did you, like, and so many people want to keep their story to themselves because of the shame, the guilt, but that's really what transforms people's lives. People don't care how I built an 8-figure business. I mean, they do, like business people when I'm coaching or when I'm helping people with consulting, they care because it's, practical stuff that they need for business building. But ultimately, where I've seen God use me the greatest has been in my greatest weakness and my greatest pain. And that's often the
Yeah.
story that I hear when women are sharing.
Absolutely. And it's not that, I mean, look at your success, but it's like, let's be relatable. Let me tell you, like, if you can overcome it. Like, what a shining example you are. Don't let someone else's power over you make you stuck. Like, let's talk about it. Let's share it. Here's what I did, to
Yep.
do that, because you have so much to give, right? And everyone does. It's
We all
just
do.
we want to help them, and we want to empower them, to go out and shine their
Yeah. Well,
light.
I love that. And I love that about your book. So talk to us about, let's get back to your book and the 7. So you have 7 keys. Talk to us, like, when you did your outline and God downloaded that to you, like, what were some of the reasons that you land on those specific keys? I would love to, like, maybe 1 or 2 of those keys that you're like, ah, yeah, God really put that on my heart because of what have you.
Yeah. So, over, gosh, the last 20 years, gosh, even like way back to when I started, I was in a law firm, right? And not coaching, and running my own business. If you look at those past 30 years, Oh my gosh.
It goes fast, girl, just saying.
It goes fast and I'm loving every minute of it. So I've seen a lot of companies fall apart, and because of a lack of transparency in their leadership. I've seen people lack integrity, and it brought down the entire firm, or a department. I've seen people lack transparency in the numbers. And so, there was so much fear among the culture, particularly in startups. Are we going to get paid next week? But also, how do we know if we're hitting the numbers if we don't know what the numbers are? I mean, gosh, I could go on. Congruency, um, you know, authenticity. A lot of people will tell you what needs to be done, but they're not necessarily doing it themselves. And I just believe that a leader's number one goal and focus should be to set their team up for success. Right? It's not about them. It's about setting others up for success. And people want people who can lead with wisdom and heart, right? Not
Absolutely.
just, oh, you've had all this experience. It's they want the heart, the relatability, and that's something unique. I'm not saying men don't have it, but there has been research done that women have these unique abilities, like they're active listeners, they're collaborators, they have a high emotional IQ, they can empathize. So, it's just really important that we look at that, we create awareness around our style, our leadership style, and then we don't stay stuck on it. We actually adapt, it to how others need to be led, and let them feel supported.
I love that. That's awesome. That I love that. And that's authenticity to me is it's actually one of our key pillars with Masterpiece Women. And I think leaders oftentimes in that arena, in that vulnerability that we just talked about, right? They get stuck because, well, if I'm vulnerable or I'm authentic, they might know that I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And
People don't want perfect because they know
no,
it's a myth, you know. Perfect people don't exist. I mean, we all, have things going on in our lives, or can be vulnerable, or admit that, yeah, that really threw me off course. I mean,
yeah. Yeah,
so
I definitely, and I think that, just having spoken to the few times that I have over the last few months, like, I'm like, I just love this woman. I remember getting off the phone with you not too long
aw,
ago, and I talked to a girlfriend of mine that I'm in business with, and I said, I just love this woman. Like, she is just so wise. And so, are you still doing one-on-one coaching, or are you primarily doing the consulting and that type of thing? Do you still do the one-on-one coaching?
I do. I do.
Oh,
I actually, yes, I do. So,
excellent. So there you go, ladies. If you're looking for a phenomenal coach too, not only is she an incredible author, and I'm
aw.
so excited to read your book, Sheri, but she also does
Oh, thank
coaching. So
you.
there you go. So talk
I
to us a
can't
little
wait.
bit about the fractional COO position that you do with these companies, because I think that's pretty important. So many small businesses and even larger businesses, they don't want or need a full-time COO, especially if they're building an online infrastructure. How does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, basically you said it. It's for people who, they're growing, but they don't need that full-time executive. They actually, so we call it fractional these days. They just need someone to come in and maybe 20 hours a week, just help them, building the team, supporting the team, um, looking at the systems, the overall operations, just make sure that, everything is working like a well-oiled machine. So it's the COO's role. Actually, I always look at that as an integrator role. I think in the past it's been thought of operations, like if you think of manufacturing, like the
Yeah.
factories running, but it's not. It's actually about alignment and collaboration and coordination among all areas within the business. So I really love that role because it focuses so much on people. And you can have the best business model in the world, and you can have a ton of people who want your product, your service. But it's all about the people that are supporting you, that are going to make it
Absolutely.
successful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a brilliant perspective. I love it because it's so true. So, let's talk a little bit about you building your business. You stepped out of the corporate world, you moved into the entrepreneurial setting. What was that best, like, what was the best piece of advice that someone gave you, or that something you would like to pass down to young entrepreneurs who are starting to build a business? Like, what was that aha moment for you that really helped you to build your own business?
Yeah. So for me, I didn't have any business experience. And so I got right into growth mode and education mode. And I sought out people, who knew more than I did. I did not want to be the smartest person in the room. I wanted to learn from others in the room. I started reading business books like crazy. And so I learned a lot from that. Some of my early favorites were like Darren Hardy, John Maxwell with leadership. Gosh, there's so many great ones out there. And then my favorite quote from all that was by Jim Rohn. And, Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on your business or your job. And so when you're going into a new role, and this will help you, get rid of imposter syndrome too, right? Learn as much as you can. Just soak it up like a sponge. You know, Entrepreneurship isn't easy. Darren Hardy wrote an awesome book. It's called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. And it's like you go through all these phases as you're building your business. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. Just enjoy the ride.
I love that. Yeah, he's one of my favorite authors and coaches as well. I love his book,
Absolutely.
The Compound Effect, because people often, when they start their business, right, they want to just go 200% in. They don't take the time for their personal growth, like you described, and then they're a year into it going, "This is a mess," And it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to pivot and do things better. However, boy, it saves you a lot of headaches along the way if you work on yourself first. And that's such great advice, because I think that is a key area that entrepreneurs miss. And I am so grateful when I started my business that I surrounded myself, like you said, back in the day it was called tech. Now I forget what it's called, but back in that day, it was all the CEOs in my community, and I'd meet with them once a month, and I'd pick their brains like crazy. I was a young 25-year-old kid, didn't
Awesome.
know what I was doing,
Yeah.
and the reality is, no matter what age, how much experience, just like you described, we're all still growing. We're all still learning. And, we're just one step ahead of the person behind us. So
And
it's
somebody's a step ahead of us.
exactly. Some of them are many steps ahead of us. And those are the ones you want to follow, because why reinvent the wheel, right? What works for them.
Yeah, and I love how you talk about tech. That must have been like a roundtable or something, or a
It was.
networking group of CEOs or new business owners. That's such a great place to get started. And you can find a lot of stuff online today, obviously, and I think that's really helpful. But getting in with people and that human interaction, you're going to find an amazing mentor. I don't know about you, Tina. Have you had some amazing mentors in your life? Because I certainly have.
Yeah,
And I
I
didn't find
have.
them online or watching a course.
No, no. And, those relationships, and when people are speaking truth into your life and you trust them, there's a whole different level of growth, because it's one thing to hear wisdom, and you want to hear it. You want every day I'm listening to something, and
Sure.
oftentimes I'll listen to Ray. Ray's a wealth of knowledge, and God just
Yes.
uses him incredibly. And so I'll listen to him, but I also listen to several when I'm walking. I'm listening to my audiobooks. My greatest book right now, I was going to just show it, but I don't have it right here. Is Mantle for Greatness. Like that is the book right now that I've listened to it over and over. I have read it. It's all about really preparing for the greatness that God is creating in your life. Because I really do believe, Sheri, that people like yourself writing these books on leadership and us delving into and really taking all those gold nuggets, because God's going to show you something that he hasn't shown me yet. And I don't care how much we grow, we always gain something from those books and, from reading them and listening. And so I'll never forget, a guy told me way back when, and I thought he was crazy. I'm not going to lie. At the time, I thought he was insane. He goes, I read a book a week. I'm like, a book a week? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I probably listen. I do a lot of audio because I do it when I'm walking, but I probably listen to a book every 2 weeks, probably not a week, but every 2 weeks. And I could see how valuable it is if I were doing even more of it. So that's actually on my to-do list, is more of that. So yours is my next one. I'm so excited to get it. I'm
Oh,
ordering it
thank
as soon as we get
you.
off. And ladies, as
Thank
you see,
you.
Sheri has just so much wisdom and beauty, and God, I believe, is going to use your book incredibly. So I'm going to post it everywhere. We're going to have all the links down below for you under this podcast, so you can go get your own book, ladies, and make sure you get it today on Amazon. Let's help her get to best-selling author.
Thank you so much, Tina. And it's been so great to develop a relationship with you and get to know you. And you told our story pretty well, but I just appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for having me on here today.
Oh,
I'm so
my
grateful.
pleasure. I'm so glad you're here. And I would love for you to come hang with us at our retreat. Our retreats, for those of you who haven't heard of the Masterpiece Women Retreats, they're smaller, they're more intimate. We're not doing the huge. We are going to Faith Over Fear too. Quite a few of us from Masterpiece Women are going to go to Faith Over Fear. We're super excited. And you know what?
Cool.
I'll put the link to that down below as well, because it is a great opportunity to grow. And the Masterpiece Women's Retreat is a little bit different. It's not a conference, it's a true retreat. It's bringing in leaders to just to breathe in God, to breathe in wisdom, have time alone with God. We do a lot of just quiet time, a lot of meditation with the Lord, a lot of fun activities, because what we know is this: many women leaders out there are so busy pouring out to others. They just want to suck in the fresh air of the Lord, not be working, not be thinking, just be receiving. And that's really what our weekends are all about. And we do have some great speakers. We have Angela Ball, myself, Dr. Hazim is going to be sharing, Colleen Wright. And most importantly, though, we're going to be just having a time experiencing the Lord in a new way. I believe he's calling his girls deeper. He's calling us to a place of the supernatural, where we're just experiencing him in ways that we've never experienced him before. We're hearing from him in ways we've never heard from him before. We're sensing his presence at a deeper, stronger level than we've ever sensed or experienced before. And that's what I believe, that Masterpiece Women, he's calling us to that next level. And that's what the retreat is going to be all about. So if you're looking for more, this is the retreat for you. So I want to encourage you to come. We'd love to have you, Sheri. And ladies, if Sheri comes, I might even convince her to share a little of her wisdom with you. So there you
What,
go.
Tina, when is it and where is
October
it?
24th to the 27th. It's the weekend before Raise.
Oh, wow. That's going to be two powerhouse weekends.
Right?
How
Or when is
fortunate.
Raise again? I think it is. Or weekend after, maybe.
It's like the 31st. It starts the 31st through November 3rd,
Yeah. So
in
his is right
Orlando.
afterwards. So maybe you need
Yeah.
to come get filled up so you can go pour out, because you'll be a busy girl.
And where will your event be?
It's in South Florida. So
Cool.
we may be pivoting that a little bit because we had some issues with the hotel. It's a very long, complicated story, but we're probably going to be a little bit north of Palm Beach. So we're working on that today as we
Gorgeous.
speak. Pivoting's a
Good.
beautiful thing, especially when it comes to and locations and contracts and stuff, but you do what you got to do, right? So, anywho, so
Well,
thank you again, Sheri, for being here. Ladies, check out her book and follow us on all of our channels, and make sure that you share this podcast with as many women as possible. Let's get the word out there. Thank you again, Sheri, for being with us.
oh, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for all the work that you do, Tina, and we'll talk soon. Bye,
Talk soon.
everyone.